Hello and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. Today is Sunday, August 26, 2018, and the topic tonight is a cashless society really a threat to liberty? A few years ago, I started working on researching the origins of a cashless society, and I went through how some of it was due to technology, some of it was due to governmental action, and between the two of them, we've moved closer and closer towards a digital age. And then I started to think about what would be the implications of such a society. And this was a few years back, 2013, 2014. And I wrote a number of pieces, and one of them got picked up by, I think, the New Zealand Banking Association. And they cited it a lot as to what some of the pitfalls might be in a cashless society. And of course, there's been plenty written since, and many people are now aware of the general problems with a cashless society. I mean, you know that if it's cashless, you don't hold it, it's easy to track. And we're going to go through some of the issues with a cashless society. But I've started to rethink some of the issues, and I want to share those. We'll do this in two parts. There's a lot here. So, first of all, a cashless society is a central planner's dream. You would think it's freedom's nightmare. They control all of the money. They know where it is. They issue it digitally. It even has the danger of becoming a priceless one because they set the money supply. They know where it is. They can set the prices. You can really see how it can be a big control game, and you could see where the blurring of the line of you even owning your own money goes away, where the private property element of money is gone. It all belongs to the government, and you can spend it, but they know what you spend, they tax what you spend, and it's easy to see how privacy and freedom can be compromised. And for the most part, if this was a big danger, it's been similar to the boiling frog story, where, as I mentioned, through technology and a series of government actions, which we'll go through tomorrow, we ended up in this place where we're pretty much cashless as it is. And we pretty much have a central bank that controls the money supply, controls not where all the money goes, but controls where the important money goes so that the other money actually follows. And we're not really setting the price of money through market forces, through supply and demand, but this is all a centrally planned type of arrangement. And you can see again how you can track and trace and collect taxes on cashless even more so than you can when you have cash. And it goes back to that old paraphrase that Ben Franklin, those who would give up their liberty for some security will end up with neither or deserve neither. We can say those who would give up liberty for convenience deserve neither liberty or convenience, because one of the arguments in favor of cashless is it's convenient. You don't have to carry cash around. You just put out your card or your chip in your hand or whatever it happens to be, and you're now in a very convenient society where you don't have to lug the wallet around, you don't have to worry about it getting stolen. And the proponents of the cashless society, that's what they propose. Even the ones that aren't looking for total control of you, they're actually people who believe that it's more convenient to do it this way. Now, there are people and central planners who like it, and they'll tout the convenience, but there is some convenience in having digital payments as opposed to physical payments. And then it goes back to, do you want to give up your liberty for the convenience? Or are you going to lose your liberty if you accept that convenience? So there are people who think that if you have cashless society, some people actually believe it eliminates theft, because if you don't have the cash to trade something illicitly, then you won't steal the property. I don't buy that, but there are people who make that. And in a sense, a cashless society or a digital society is one that is heading in that direction, already is in effect that way, has been not from necessarily mandated convenience, but a lot of it has been people have willingly accepted a lack of cash. Now think of how many of you probably don't carry cash, and you carry credit cards, debit cards. Not everyone uses cash. Now, in a totally cashless society, not only would they wouldn't ban cash, they just wouldn't issue cash, and then you wouldn't have cash, and so it wouldn't even be a choice. And like today, they've tried to put restrictions on cash. They say that you can't make certain purchases over certain amounts in cash. Different governments around the world have those types of rules. They have eliminated certain size bills. They've also, when you have certain size transactions, they make you report them. And when you travel across borders, having cash is akin to carrying around drugs or other contraband. So it's almost like open carry cash is not necessarily a freedom that you have in the United States. You might have to get a permit to carry a certain amount of cash, if indeed they still have cash. But today, if you carry cash around, they view you as a potential criminal. They may seize your cash under certain laws, civil forfeiture laws. They may not even charge you with a crime. They may just assume you have malintent because you have that cash. So there's already a war on cash, so to speak, but I say it's not so much a war because nobody's really fighting. In a war, you really have to have two sides. People complain when the effects of the cashless society impact them, but no one's really resisting, so to speak, the cashless society on a daily basis. And the central planners like the cashless concept. It eliminates, they can basically control where the cash is, know where the cash is, issue the cash, and find out where it goes. See, today a lot of economics is guesswork. Well, if we lower interest rates and we increase the money supply, our model says this will happen. But you don't know what people are going to do with the money. But imagine if they knew where every dollar was or whatever unit of account they had, they could see where it goes. And then they can also see if they move certain levers based on past things that have happened. They're never going to get it right. They'll never know what anyone might do with money unless they start mandating certain purchases and certain percentages of your purchases. As long as people have freedom to spend, it'll still be difficult to plan the economy, but it would clearly be easier because there'd be more data involved, but more data available to understand where money goes, and it would be harder to do illegal things with money because they'd see where it went. So central planners clearly like the idea of the cashless society. Now, some have said, and this came up, Sweden realized, well, hold on here a minute, Sven. If we go totally cashless and let's say Russia invades us and takes over the Riksbank in Stockholm, and then what's going to happen is, well, then Russia will have a full blueprint of everything that we've done with our money. They'll know everything, and they can issue the money, and we won't have a way of resisting because we won't have any cash, and the money will be under the control of the Russians, and we won't be able to know we won't be able to do anything without them knowing what's going on. So we won't have a way of financing our resistance. And that was a very astute observation that in their own interest, they realized if you have this cashless system, that it can turn around and be used against you. But of course, when you're in control of the system, it's definitely good. But if someone takes control of your system, well then, in a sense, you are extremely hosed. And the other part about going cashless that a lot of people liked was that you don't have to mint these coins, you don't have to figure out counterfeiting, you don't have to worry about whether you have enough cash, too much cash, using zinc, using copper, silver, whatever it is. It basically gives the central planners the ability to say, this is it, this is the money, take it or leave it, and you know you're going to take it. And then also, they realize that it cuts down on cash. Now, tomorrow, I want to talk about those are just the quick positives. There's a lot of negatives, and you know most of them, but I'll catalog them. But then I want to go through how we got to where we are through government action and technology. But then I want to give you also my rethink on what the real problem is, and it's not cashless. Let's see if we got any questions tonight. And tomorrow, be prepared. Think about this tonight, tomorrow, and we'll have a fuller discussion. Now, we do have a good number of people here. The reason I want to save the big stuff for tomorrow is we'll probably have more people. You guys get a chance to think about this, and I'm going to give you some of my additional thoughts on this. But let's take a look. Hello, Carl Joseph DeMarco. Whatever happened to India going cashless? It was supposed to be a disaster to millions of people who had no bank account. We're going to discuss that tomorrow, and what happened when the Indian Prime Minister Modi demonetized the rupee notes a couple of years back. Yes, convenient for the people who desire to rule over all the people. But we have a twist on that, Anita. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. Anita, most people in India are too poor to notice. That's true. Kenny, complete control on what you buy or sell. Yes, and we're going to cover all of that. But there's an additional twist to this that we'll discuss tomorrow. But what ID Cashless is decentralized and anonymous. You're getting closer there, Carl. We're going to discuss that again tomorrow as well. Yep, Carl, none. Don't know. Carl Joseph DeMarco, cryptocurrency is cashless. It can be completely anonymous and peer-to-peer, so you can still have liberty. We're going to discuss privacy coins tomorrow as well, like Monero. Anita A, really? Really? Well, let's see. Thriftlet Kenny, I imagine gold and silver first thing you can't buy in a cashless society. It's a very good point. Once you have gold and silver, it is not based on anyone issuing it to you. It's not going to default. It's not going to go bad. It's not going to expire. It can't be revalued. It can be revalued, but it's still gold and silver. But if you were to try to buy it, they would see that you're buying it. Now, that's another question, is how do they know what you're buying? I mean, if people... they can say that when the digital transfer takes place, it's a bale of hay when it's a half an ounce of silver. Who knows? Carl Joseph DeMarco, completely anonymous until somebody figures out how to track and privacy blockchain escalating war of tech. Yes, we are going to talk about that. And that's a very important point. I think, I'll give you a hint. A lot of people think that the way to battle cashless and digital is by going physical. May be better to combat on two fronts and fighting on the same front that their battlefield that they're on, rather than retreating just to physical, i.e. developing a digital types of currency, private types of currency, whether they be digital and or physical. Yes, try using physical gold or silver on eBay or Amazon. Good luck with that. And that goes to your convenience argument. You know, we're talking about people generally will pick the faster and more convenient technology. Horses are transportation, period. Well, people pick the car over horses. Horses have been transportation for 5,000 years. Yes, even though the car was more dangerous, was polluting, it was faster, it was more convenient, people decided, screw it, I'm taking the car, leave the horse at home. And we've seen that with, forget cryptocurrencies, just in your cash society, where people have gone to digital cash, credit cards and debit cards. They're not carrying around the physical specie. Why? It's just not convenient. You got your card, you can buy your groceries with the card, with your dollar, with your debit card. You don't have to worry about credit. You still use a debit card. Crypto can be tracked unless you're peer-to-peer in person. They can track it, so criminals prefer cash now, apparently, says Mate. And that is true. I mean, cash. But now they have cash that they can trace. They can put little trackers on it. They can put serial numbers. So cash, even cash is cash, if it's issued by a government, can be traced. Even physically traced if they have a certain barcode on it. You know, maybe they have ways of detecting where that cash goes with today's technology. Now, gold and silver, no, you can't. Gold and silver can be melted. They're fungible. So you definitely have an advantage if you want to not anonymity using gold or silver. Even if it has a bar number, it can be melted, and all you have to do is assure that the purity is correct, but then you do have new gold. Flight 19, my Uncle Thurston Howell III was a Harvard man. Anyone who says money can buy happiness doesn't know where to shop, says Flight 19. We're going to hear about Digibyte tonight. Anita A, Thriftlet, and Guns and Bullets accept anything they want to outlaw. That's right. So contraband today could mean illegal drugs, but tomorrow it could be firearms, it could be gold, it could be cigarettes, it could be liquor, it could be basically anything they wish. In fact, I heard a disturbing story now. You know how they're censoring people on the internet for their political views or whatever, but they're going one step further, and we have seen people get cut off of Patreon, but now they're trying to say that maybe if you're a firearm owner, you can't get a mortgage, you can't get a loan. You see, once you have this centralized system of money, they can decide not only what you can spend, but what credit they can issue to you based on your profile. Oh, so we see you did buy a gun. Well, unless you give that up, we're not going to issue a loan. So the more information that money has attached to it, the more then central planners, law enforcement, or just overreaching governments can determine what you can spend and who is going to do business with you. Some cryptos are anonymous. I was mining one at a time, but it was too slow. If it's in the internet, they can track it. Ah, yes, but there's ways of doing things outside of the internet as well, if you remember. A lot of people have this outdated idea that Bitcoin was created by the CIA. That is all I need to know. No. Even if Bitcoin was created by the CIA, you can still create other cryptocurrencies, other currencies that are not Bitcoin, and it doesn't mean that when someone creates a cryptocurrency, it's all trackable, it's all traceable. Depends on the system, depends on how it's created, depends on so many different things. So when people say, I like when people say, that is all I need to know. When you say that, you basically don't know enough, and you're defending your position with, that is all I need to know. Central banks are buying gold. That is all I need to know. No. All right, sure, they invented. I agree with Ma. And you know, that's the other thing. You hear it enough. And one of the reasons people like to say these things about cryptocurrencies or these things about JP Morgan, whatever it is, it's just people repeat it. You have the idea of the authority says it. You have the idea that everybody repeats it. Everybody agrees with it. And you really don't do much further research into it other than maybe you heard 4 or 5 people give you their 10-minute research on it. And then you feel, that is all I need to know. He is a smart guy. He has looked into it, and that is all I need to know. So we'll talk more tomorrow, but let me just finish the comments here. Some cash will be needed since systems will go down periodically. Yes, and Kevin, I don't know if you missed the original comment, the Swiss National Bank realized that, let's say the system goes down, not periodically through some tech error, but because the Russians take over their bank, then they're going to need cash. But that would be a backup system. And that's the same with the horse. If your car breaks down, well, you got a horse. But people are always going to prefer to work with the more, the speedier, the faster, the more convenient system, even though it might be more intruding on their freedom, more dangerous. They know now and are starting to block transactions. That's right. Now, Anita A, there's an example where you would say, well, I need cash to buy something because they won't allow me on the system. But what if what you need to buy needs to be shipped to you from afar? Then that cash isn't going to do you any good. So it's good to have many different angles and many different, this is Hayek's concept of the competing currencies. Now, when you're thinking about creating a currency, a lot of people say gold standard. We're not going to get into it tomorrow, but a gold standard is somewhat problematic because you're trusting the government to hold the gold, and you're trusting the government to, well, actually, we are going to get into this tomorrow because we're going to see historically having a gold standard didn't prevent Richard Nixon from just changing the rules of the game. and going off the gold standard. Having a gold based currency in the 30s and the 20s in the United States didn't stop Franklin Roosevelt from not having gold coins, silver coins. With Johnson, they just got rid of them. So you always want a backup. All right, let's see. Zilla. Will people suddenly face hardship and deprivation? Convenience will no longer be decided whether they use digital. They will gladly resort to physical. Yes, Zilla, but they will also gladly resort to other digital that works. See, I think people are, this is the thought. Everyone thinks that when one thing doesn't work, we regress. So the car doesn't work, we get on the horse. No, maybe the car doesn't work, you get on the motorcycle. You see, it doesn't have to be a reversion. Everybody thinks everything has to go back to gold and silver. That's been drilled into our heads, that gold is money for 5,000 years. Gold will always be money. When there is an event, people will return to gold. They will line up at the stores like they always have to buy their gold and silver. That could be, but I don't think so. I think people will look for digital avenues to continue their ability to conduct commerce. So if there was, for example, a dollar collapse or any collapse, it doesn't mean that what they're going to put in its place is going to be some type of physical specie, a physical backed currency. And that's what governments will do, might or might not do, but even people themselves. Remember, putting aside the idea that the CIA invented Bitcoin, even if they did, which they didn't, I don't think they, but people are working on cryptocurrencies that are not in the CIA. They're people that are working, they're working to make money. They don't know anything about CIA. They're working on technological advances, and that's what people do. They're looking for ways to make things more convenient. I wouldn't think that the people working on the Lightning Network have anything to do with the CIA. They're actually trying to fix an issue that wasn't really contemplated when Bitcoin came out, because they didn't contemplate the ability to scale the thing, and now that's something people are working on. They didn't say, oh, this didn't work, CIA stuff, we better go out and stack silver. You see, that's like when the car breaks down, they don't say, well, that's it, this car stuff is a real pain in the neck. Mary, get Nellie saddled up and go and get more hay, because this car stuff is a bunch of nonsense. Yeah, I ran out of gas, and then the tire broke, and I got to get back on a horse. All right, let's see what else here. All right. I think we're gonna stop short here tonight. Let's take this up back tomorrow. And what we're gonna talk about though is think through how we got to where we are. Didn't happen overnight. How the control over your money has occurred, and I've come up with many examples how the government has actually controlled your money, even when it wasn't in digital form. Digital form just makes it somewhat easier for them to control it. And then we're going to talk about some cryptocurrencies, and we're going to talk about gold and silver. We're going to talk about blockchain and gold and digitizing gold and silver. And we'll see where it goes. But it's a subject that doesn't just end with Bitcoin was invented by the CIA. That is all I need to know. I am against digital currencies. I am going to stack silver. Okay. That's all you need to know then. But if you want to know more or think about more, join me tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Thanks very much. Don't forget to get your Smaulgld mug. I am doing another shipment tomorrow. No, I don't listen to Sinclair and Halter. I've heard Sinclair and Halter enough. Don't as I mentioned the other night, I don't listen to many of the traditional, or the not traditional, the ones that you always see, the same names over and over again. I think when people have been saying similar things for 10 years and the thinking hasn't evolved, but the world has, then this stale thinking. I rather hear people saying stuff that doesn't make sense to me, or stuff that makes sense but I don't believe yet. I'm not interested in hearing about mathematical certainties of a collapse and they're going to roll the gold out into a stadium and the COMEX is going to default and gold's going to go to 50,000. Money's going to do a recounting, greatest wealth transfer this decade. I'm not interested in that anymore. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow night.